Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Welcome to the Savage Nation. You think you've heard everything that you could possibly hear about the National Felons League, but you haven't, because you haven't heard me, Michael Savage. Let me make it very clear to you. The National Felons League is spitting on America, not the fans. By doing this knee thing, which I'll tell you about in a minute, in a way maybe you don't know, it all started with one failed player who was influenced by his radical Muslim girlfriend. Yes, she was born in Egypt, or both of her parents are from Egypt. It was when he started sleeping with the Egyptian girl that he suddenly hated America. So the failed player, influenced by the radical Muslim girlfriend, decided to make it about himself. As many of you know, I have just written a book about God. There's a passage from the Bible I'd like to quote for you. It's from Proverbs 3:31, and it reads, "Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways." Today, the oppressors are the bullies of the NFL, who kneel or hide when our national anthem is being played, forcing a captive audience to witness their vile, insulting, and uninformed view of what America stands for. I'll tell you what America stands for. We are a nation in which no citizen is treated differently under the law, regardless of their color, race, financial status, creed, or nation of origin. Even these hysterical millionaires have rights. So I encourage all of you to do the same. Exercise your rights. Turn off your TVs. Learn who the advertisers are of the NFL. Do not choose the ways of the anarchists, the ignorant, whether they take the form of neo-Nazis, Antifa, or professional athletes. And let me repeat, the national anthem is who they are, is what they are protesting, is it not? The national anthem is about a nation, not about a president. So when President Trump says players who protested the national anthem being played before games should be fired from their teams over the weekend, well, the whole world exploded. Yesterday, America was treated to NFL players taking a knee, or sitting, or locking arms, while the national anthem was being played in protest of what the president said. Well, guess what? They weren't protesting a president. They were giving a big middle finger to the entire nation. That flag and that song should be a unifying moment, a moment to say, no matter what differences we have, we are all American, and it's a privilege to be one. But a bad player, influenced by his radical Muslim girlfriend here in San Francisco, just last year decided to make it about himself. He claimed to be protesting the killing of black men in America by the police, while at the same time this vile loser wearing a shirt praising the Castro murderers of Cuba. And it's now spread to this. They're saying he's practicing his First Amendment rights. Well, let me tell you something. Donald Trump also practiced his First Amendment rights, and an entire league lost their minds. This tradition of the national anthem at ball games goes back over 100 years to World War I. The people then loved their nation, with boys fighting overseas in a horrible war. Well, let me tell you something, you overpaid goons. We have soldiers on the battlefield today. And these players, you, just spit on them. The national anthem is about a nation, you goons, not about a president. And if you goons don't know that, you should be thrown off the team. Go play in Cuba. Go play in Pakistan. And the commissioner of this league supports this. He should be fired as well. The commissioner is saying these goons have a right to their free speech and to protest as they see fit. But it wasn't that way when the Dallas Cowboys wanted it to wear stickers on their helmets to honor the police after several Dallas policemen were shot and killed by a black man. Do you remember that? Did you hear what I just said to you? Let me run it right into your ugly faces, you haters out there. Free speech? Apparently, there was no free speech when the Dallas Cowboys wanted to wear stickers on their helmets to honor the police after several Dallas policemen were killed in cold blood. No, he wouldn't allow that. Or when an NFL player wanted to honor 9/11 victims with a decal on his shoe, he wasn't allowed to do that either. But spitting on the flag, you can do that all day. You, the people, have the power, and that's what you need to exercise. You don't have to go to the game. You don't have to buy the products advertised by these games, and you don't have to support them in any way. Do you even know that there are advertisers who will not advertise on this radio show? All of the advertisers who advertise on the NFL games have boycotted the Savage Nation, and they support these anti-American bums. Why don't they advertise on this show or on any conservative radio show? Why is Nike allowed to get away with it? Because you're a fool, because you buy their products, that's why. But people will still defend these thugs who spit on everything good about America, saying it's their right. But is it? Is it really their right? Yes, they can say what they want, but shouldn't they be accountable for what they say? I think they should. But the bosses of these thugs won't say anything because they're too afraid of the thugs that the leftist fascists work with. All that we honor and respect in this country are now thrown out to accept the ridiculous. Suddenly, man is woman, woman is man, America is bad, the Soviet Union was good, and Russia is bad. The civil rights movement never happened. Minorities are now more oppressed than ever. It's all lies. It's all upside down. The fact that these players can do what they did yesterday with no repercussions whatsoever disproves all of their arguments. Where else could you do this on this planet? Tell me where. They claim they're living in a dictatorial regime. They'd be killed or put in torture prisons if they did it in North Korea or in Iran or any of the other true dictatorships. Even in westernized countries, you have laws against certain speech. You may not know it, but I, Michael Savage, am still banned from Britain for something I didn't even say. But here, millionaire thugs can go on national TV, spit on the national anthem, hate the nation, and still get paid millions of dollars a year. Remember this. When they do what they did yesterday, they're not disrespecting President Trump. They're disrespecting an entire nation. They're spitting on you and I. I'm Michael Savage, and I approve of my monologue. The phone number is 855-400-7282. And now we'll play Blue Monday on the Savage Nation, because truly a Blue Monday when a group of multimillionaire goons can spit on the flag and get away with it. And you, the moron, still watch the games and still buy their jerseys and go to the sports fields. It's you who have the power. And now Blue Monday on the Savage Nation. Phone number is 855-400-7282. 855-400-SAVAGE.
How I hate Blue Monday. Got to work like a slave all day. Here come Tuesday. Oh, Tuesday. I'm so tired, got no time to play. Here come Wednesday. I'm beat to myself.
All right, let's hear what the people out there have had to say about my headline on my website, michaelsavage.com. When I wrote over the weekend, actually it was yesterday, National Felons League, NFL, overpaid in great spit on U.S. We got all sorts of replies on the Twitter feed. One of the most profound is the picture of a U.S. Marine holding himself up during a national anthem by his arms, holding on to the arms of his wheelchair because he has no legs. Unlike these overpaid thugs, he lost his legs in Iraq, and he came to a game, and while the national anthem was being played, this man brought tears to the eyes of the world as he held himself up with his hands, not his legs, because he understands the anthem is about the nation. These anti-American thugs are the lowest form of humanity as far as I am concerned. They're not heroes. They're spoiled ingrates. That's all they are. It's as simple as that. There's another picture I want you to try to find. It's on michaelsavage.com as well as on my Twitter feed that someone put together. It'll break your heart. It'll rip your heart out. It's of a woman lying in a military cemetery on a blanket with a picture of her deceased husband, a soldier, with all his medals, and her baby. And this is who it is. This is what it's all about. Her heart is broken. She's there with the baby who has no father. And these filthy, overpaid, stupid bums spit on my flag. They can all go to hell as far as I'm concerned. It's as simple as that. And America should spit on them as far as I am concerned. It's as simple as that. There's nothing more I can say. These filthy bums had the nerve, one of the teams of this filthy, stinking league, to go to England and spit on the American people by taking a knee while the anthem was being played, while saluting and standing up at attention for the British national anthem. I think they ought to move to Britain and see what kind of money they can earn over there. Or they ought to move to Iran, another country they love. Or they ought to move to Cuba, where sports are very popular, and see what kind of money they can make over there. You know, there's some good news in all of this, which is that there's a player named Alejandro Villanueva of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's an offensive lineman. He broke with his team to stand for the national anthem yesterday, and it became the best-selling NFL player Monday, according to a report. He's a former Army Ranger who served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan. He was the only Pittsburgh Steeler to appear for the Star-Spangled Banner before the game against the Chicago Bears. His patriotic counter-protest, while his filthy teammates remained in the locker room, helped him unseat New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady as the top gear seller in the league, according to ESPN. Did you hear what I just said? A spokesman for Fanatics, which runs the NFL's online store, confirmed that more Villanova items, including jerseys and T-shirts, had been ordered than that of any other NFL player in the past 24 hours. But his coach doesn't support him. His rotten, stinking anti-American coach, Mike Tomlin, had the nerve to say, "I was looking for 100% participation. We were going to be respectful of our football team." Go to hell, Mike Tomlin. Go move to Iran or Cuba where you belong. When San Francisco 49ers failed quarterback Colin Pimpleneck first started kneeling before games, this hero, Villanueva, said he questioned whether kneeling during the national anthem was appropriate. This hero, Alejandro Villanueva, said, "I don't know if the most effective way is to sit down during the national anthem with a country that's providing you with freedom, providing you $16 million a year, when there are black minorities that are dying in Iraq and Afghanistan for less than $20,000 a year." This is the Savage Nation. Be here.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
There's a drive hit to deep right field. That ball is going. It is gone. Maris hitting his second homer of the day. And the Yankees' 6th homer of the ball game. Too short of the record.
See, those were the days. I was never a big sports fan after the age of 11, which is about the age when people should grow up and stop really being involved with sports. It's the same thing with gambling. Kids gamble at ages 10, 11, 12, and then they outgrow it. As most boys know, you should outgrow sports by the time you're 11 or 12, and I did. I grew up. But there's a lot of adolescence in men's bodies here in this country, both on the field and off the field, and that's what we're looking at now. Can you name one player who makes all these millions who's an oppressed minority? I can't kind of put that together. They're oppressed by what? They hate our society, they hate our culture, but they love the greenbacks? It's wonderful, isn't it? All this is going to do is provoke more and more hatred between the races. It's going to provoke the end of football as you know it. These bums were supposed to understand something when they were given these, when they earned these positions, and they did earn them because they're great athletes. Don't take that away from them. But they're bums as human beings, in plain English. You see, the stands and the TV sets are watched by, tens of millions of people or more? And they are role models. When I was a kid, if I went to a Yankees game, which I did, I loved it. And I loved every ball player. I looked up to them. They were demigods to me. I wanted to be like them. But when that national anthem played in the Yankee Stadium, everything came to a halt. The Frankfurter salesman stood at attention and put his hand over his heart. The beer salesman stood dead still. Every player stood there understanding that it was because of the sanctity and safety of the nation that they could play their game. And if these bums don't know that, they ought to move to Cuba or Iran and see how respected they will be, and see if they are oppressed minorities or respected minorities in Cuba or in Iran. This is sickening. Now, I wrote a book years ago called Stop the Coming Civil War, and then I wrote subsequent books. But you know, Stop the Coming Civil War, unfortunately, was prophetic in many ways, because this is a civil war. You see, this racial enmity did not begin with Donald Trump. It began with Barack Obama. Barack Obama sowed racial enmity in this nation for 8 straight years. That's how he became president. Did he, correct me if I'm mistaken, but before he was president, did he cure polio, or was he the man who discovered the cure for leukemia? Or was Obama an astronaut who went to Mars? Or was Obama a man who won a Nobel Prize for something? He was a nobody, a zero, an invention, a creation of the radical left that cultivated him for years and years and years in Hawaii and then in Colombia. They picked him. They handpicked him. He was the perfect man for the time to push the anti-American agenda. And he spent 8 straight years doing what got him where he was, which was dividing people, turning first against the police in Boston, if you remember. You remember that? Obama sowed the seeds of racial enmity in this country for 8 straight years with his henchmen, Eric Holder. One after the other, they turned race against race, sex against sex, old against young.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Sports have always been a great unifier. I've always said sports and the arts will bring America together. It's where we put our differences aside. Let's not have the President of the United States do anything but bring people together.
What a sickening woman she is. We know that she's a lunatic and an American fool. You know, I wonder what Nancy Pelosi's D'Alessandro family would think of her. I know that the family was a patriotic family. We know that. Her family name is D'Alessandro from Baltimore. Are you telling me Italian people from that generation would have tolerated this kind of anti-American behavior? What did they think of this woman taking the side of these trolls? We've gone from role models to troll models in one generation. Write that down. From role models to troll models in one generation. You know, my monologue is one that should be heard around the world. That monologue that you just heard on this show, where I said the National Felons League is spitting on America, not the fans, is something you should share with your friends. Well, we'll get that up as soon as we can. And the minute it goes up, I'll let you get a link to where it's going to be up. I don't know where it's going to be up right now. This is so bad to live in an America like this. I can only go back and make this very personal. I remember being a boy, 11, as I say, walking around with a glove, polo shirt, and a radio, a little portable radio on my ear, listening to the Yankees games. It was the one sport I really loved was baseball. I don't know why I liked that sport. I myself was not a particularly good ball player. I was just a kid who did the best he could. But like all kids, I loved sports. And it was not just the sports the game. It was the players that we looked up to. Do you understand that? They were little gods. They were gods to us. And these are now what we've elevated to God models, these role models, these troll models, spitting on the American flag, on the national anthem for what? They're oppressed minorities? They're oppressed minorities, huh? Only in America can they make tens of millions of dollars for throwing a stupid ball around and banging into each other's head and say that they live in a hateful nation. Only in America. This is not good for this country. Now, I can go on and on about this all day long, and I know you want to talk about it. There are other topics. Trump on North Korea. That's a big story. I don't know anyone wants to talk about that because nothing's really happened yet. But I'll tell you, things are happening. I live here in the San Francisco area, and at night I hear the B1s and the B2s rumbling. I hear them buzzing. They're coming out of McClellan. I hear them. This morning I woke up at dawn, and I saw one of the greatest sights of my adult life. I saw F-15s in formation, flying over, patrolling San Francisco Bay, probably looking for a Korean submarine. They're on the alert. We're on a war footing, and for these rotten, stinking bums to do this at a time like this is doubly insulting. Doubly insulting. I can take the calls. I know what you're going to say. I don't know that I can sustain this for 3 hours. I could go on autopilot, which is typical in talk radio today. Throw out a hot topic, take calls for 3 hours, and go home and laugh all the way to the bank and make believe you're one of the poor. I don't want to do that. So I'll let you get some calls in on this thing. I don't know if I want to do this much longer. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I think Trump was 1,000% right. He did the right thing. He sounds like... Did you hear the opening? Just play clip 2 again, would you, Robert, please?
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
You know, Trump is the General Patton of our time. If General Patton were alive today, he'd be very much like Donald Trump. He was a tall white man, number one. Let's start with looks. Did you know that about Patton? He came from a wealthy family in Manhattan. Check that one. He was very, very outspoken. He spoke with so-called salty language. He did not take crap from soldiers in the field who wanted to duck combat, if you remember that story about General Patton. And, of course, we're living in a time where everyone has to pretend that they're something that they aren't. Like all the guys in Hollywood, they all make believe that they're all so liberal. They're liberal, sure. Well, anyway, that's the story. But Trump is very much like General Patton. And that's why he's doubly hated by the vermin on the left. You see, we had 8 straight years of being pulled almost into the world of overt, if not outright, socialism, but that's too soft a word. It was very close to a muted form of communism and a dictatorship that Obama dragged us into. And if you think I'm using hyperbole, you're mistaken. I normally do use a lot of hyperbole. But even the ACLU was disgusted with Barry Obama, who they said, and they hushed this up pretty quickly in the media, Obama created the greatest surveillance state in the history of the world, far outdoing that of communist Russia, spying on every American. And that was done by the nice old Barry Obama, Mr. Good Guy, the man who was so slick at lying that he told you he didn't like millionaires and billionaires when those are the only people he hung around with. And the minute he got out of office, he took a $70 million deal for a book, and then flew around with that character from England with Virgin Airways. I guess he was another millionaire and billionaire who was not on the list of hated. Him and the old lady hung out with him. It's all a lie, don't you understand that? And what you actually don't understand is that Trump is probably your best friend because he's the most American president we've had in so long. Imperfect, yes. Not giving us what we want on the right, for sure. Maybe 20, 25% of what we want, but who expected more? But the big issue today is him standing up to these thugs instead of cowering to them. What other president would have stood up to these thugs, these so-called sacred cows with helmets, other than Donald Trump? Who else could have done that? Nobody. There's a lot more I could say, and I will probably over the course of this program, but maybe I should take some calls on the show. You know, you have the power here. I don't think you understand this. You have the power. Do you know that just by not turning on DirecTV when an NFL game is played, do you know that you have the power to almost bankrupt these teams? I know you're addicted to sports. I know that you are addicted and figure no one's watching, but they are watching. Every time you turn on a game, it's counted by Comcast or whatever your cable carrier is, and they know you're watching. So, for example, I do that now with certain actors who I used to really love. I will not watch anything that Robert De Niro is in. I will not watch anything that Morgan Freeman is in, the biggest phony in history. They gave him a God show now on National Geographic to cover up what he did during the election. I remember what they did during the election. I have a very long memory. And I don't watch them. If I see them, I turn the station off. You should do the same thing with anybody who you don't approve of. They do it to me. Let me repeat again in case you missed it. This is probably the most important part of the entire discussion today. First of all, the National Felons League is not protesting the president when they do this. What they're doing is spitting on America itself. That's the national anthem. It's not the Trump anthem. That's number one. Never forget that. That's number one. Don't forget number one. They're spitting on the anthem, not on Trump. Don't go for what the crap they're telling you that it's anti-Trump. It's not anti-Trump. It is anti-America. So we made that point. But there are many other points to be made today. There are advertisers to the NFL that pay millions of dollars for a 30-second spot. You can look up their names. I don't have to mention them. Every one of these large companies boycotts the Savage Nation, the Rush Limbaugh Show, and the other top conservative shows in radio, and they have done so for years, because the entire advertising business is controlled by 5 people or 4 people. 4 agencies control the entire advertising business in the media. Did you know that? And they're basically left-wing millennials. So you have the power, you understand that, to buy products that are advertised on this show, because everyone who advertises on this show is taking a big chance and putting their money where their mouth is, and they're good people. You have the power of the purse. Where do you think these goons get the millions of dollars a year from? From you, because you buy the products. And because you buy the products, so Budweiser said, all right, we got to advertise on that show, for example, or a car company, whoever advertises. You know, we'll pay $80 million to advertise on the goon game. The goons crashing into each other's head with a helmet. So they're basically approving of taking a knee. In fact, one of them came out today and said they approve of it. Nike backs NFL players' right to protest in U.S. anthem debate. Nike supports athletes in their right to freedom of expression on issues that are of great importance to our society. Nike said in a statement, the world's largest sportswear brand has the main license for NFL-related merchandise, including uniforms. Well, folks, listening to the show, you have the power to say to Nike, I don't agree with you, and I have freedom of expression at the marketplace. I'm never buying another Nike product. Put your money where your mouth is. It's that simple. You have the power. All the power is about money right now. It's that simple. So what is the end game of this? Where does this go? Where does this go? It's very simple to figure this out. Fans will soon fight with each other in the stadium over the knee and the non-knee. You'll see fans getting into fistfights. That's coming next. You will then see players getting into slugfests on the field because of these disrespectful goons. That's coming next. And this is, of course, the plan of those who control everything. This is the plan of those who put Barry Obama in the White House. Divide and conquer, turn race against race, sex against sex, old against young. That's the plan, divide and conquer. When they get through with bashing Russia, they'll start bashing anyone who doesn't take a knee for the flag. What are you going to do when your child goes to school and there's a national anthem and some of the young morons take a knee and your son says that's not right, and he gets punched for it, and the school comes out on the side of the puncher and calls it freedom of expression, tell me what you're going to do then. What are you going to do then? WABC Wendy, line 2, go ahead, please.
So I'm going to tell you what I do, Michael. I teach in an immigrant neighborhood, and after we say the pledge, the kids are required to stand for a moment of silence. And while they're standing for that moment of silence, I remind them how lucky they are to have parents or family and teachers who care about them. And I let them know that not every kid has the opportunity to go to school in every country in this world. And that's how I handle it.
Have you had any kids go down on a knee during the national anthem or refuse to salute?
No, not at this point in time. I'm not involved with sports.
No. In the classroom, do you do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah, no, we do the pledge. They all say the pledge. I mean, unless they have like...
Okay, what are you going to do if a kid says, I won't say the pledge? What happens next?
Well, I don't get into an extended conversation, but I just let them know how lucky they are to be here.
No. What if they don't? What if they refuse to pledge the flag? What would you do then? What's the rule in the school?
They're not required to make the pledge, and I wouldn't get into...
Right, that's because the communists in the 1960s outlawed the pledge as a requirement. That is right. All right, thank you for calling. This is the Savage Nation. There's only one topic that seems to be on everyone's mind, and that is the National Felons League spitting on America. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Hey, no matter what goes on, can I give you some solid career advice? Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I don't care who you are, whether you're dressing for work or dressing to go out. People happen to notice the clothes you wear. It's why I wear and recommend Charles Terrett. We all love quality clothes, but until now your options were brutal. Either high-quality, ridiculously overpriced shirts or affordable, out-of-style shirts that wrinkle the minute you put them on. CT shirts are the best shirts in my closet. They're British styled using the softest fabrics. They're the most exquisitely crafted crease-free shirts I've ever worn. Tie or no tie, tucked or untucked. You're going to get compliments in a CT shirt. And here's the deal I got for you, my listeners. One CT shirt normally costs $100, but right now you'll get 3 shirts for just $99. That's 60% off. And CT shirts come with free delivery, a 6-month quality guarantee, and free returns. You cannot beat this deal. Why don't you look good for the new year? $99 for 3 amazing CT shirts, but you need to hurry. Go to ctshirts.com/savage, ctshirts.com/savage. Again, that's ctshirts.com/savage. We'll go back to the main topic of the day, the National Felons League spitting on America, not the fans. But for those of you who are following the voting going on tomorrow down in Alabama, and I have a lot of stations in Alabama. If you're listening in Alabama, there's a poll that just came out, and the visit from President Trump in favor of Luther Strange did not really help Luther Strange. The post-Trump visit poll shows Judge Roy Moore, a great guy, at 52%, still leading Luther Strange at 41%. And the Republican primary runoff for U.S. Senate in Alabama is Tuesday, September 26th. That's tomorrow. And I am told by the Christians for Life and Liberty people this. Please pray and fast for Judge Roy Moore, his family, campaign, and supporters. And if you have friends or family in Alabama, contact them today and ask them to be sure to turn out and vote for Judge Roy Moore in the Republican primary runoff tomorrow, Tuesday, September 26th. Roy Moore is the better candidate. Roy Moore is the real one. Roy Moore is the one who sacrificed a great position because he stood up for the 10 Commandments. He's the real McCoy. I've always liked Roy Moore. The other guy is an interloper. He's a Republican National Committee plant. More all the way. Well, these protests have only just begun, and they're going to spread now like the cancer that they are. And the only question is, what are you going to do when this cancer comes to your workplace? What are you going to do when this cancer comes to your school place? What are you going to do when this cancer comes, well, everywhere you can imagine? You have one power and one power only, which is stand for the anthem and do not buy the products that are advertised on any field of hate.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Well, that's all anyone wants to talk about, and rightly so. When you have enemies within who are fomenting unrest like this, and you have useful idiots, no matter how much money they make, not understanding what they are doing, which is spitting in the face of America itself, not at Donald Trump. They are spitting on the flag. They are spitting on the nation itself. Well, we're in strange times. Welcome to the program. If you missed my monologue, good news for you. It's a monologue that will be heard around the world because it was just linked up on the most important news site in the world, the Drudge Report. Michael Savage says, National Felons League spitting on America. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a sad day in America when you see overpaid people like this doing a thing like this. My friends, I'll tell you what America stands for. We are a nation in which no citizen is treated differently under the law, regardless of their color, race, financial status, creed, or nation of origin. Even these hysterical goons have the right to take a knee. But I encourage you to do the same. Exercise your rights. Turn off your TVs when you see this. Do not buy the products that advertise on their games. Do not choose the ways of the anarchists, the ignorant, whether they take the form of neo-Nazis, Antifa, or professional goons who make millions of dollars a year. Let me repeat again, the national anthem is about a nation, not about a president. The national anthem is not the Trump anthem. And so President Trump yesterday said players who protested the national anthem being played before games should be fired from their teams. And the whole world exploded. And yesterday America was treated to NFL players taking a knee or sitting or locking arms while the national anthem was being played in protest of what the president said. Well, guess what? They weren't protesting a president. They were giving a big middle finger to the nation. That flag and that song should be a unifying moment, a moment to say no matter what differences we have, no matter who's in office, whether we voted for that person or not, we are all American. And it's a privilege to be an American. But it all started when a bad player, influenced by his radical Muslim girlfriend who had Egyptian parents, just last year in San Francisco, decided to make it about himself. Colin Pimpleneck decided that he was going to protest the killing of black men in America by the police, while at the same time this uneducated moron was wearing a shirt praising the killers, Castros of Cuba. That's right. That's how stupid some of these people are. And it's now spread to this. People are saying he's practicing his First Amendment rights. Well, be that as it may, Donald Trump also practices First Amendment rights. And an entire league lost their minds. Let me remind you that the tradition of the national anthem goes back over 100 years to World War I. At that time, people loved their country, with boys fighting overseas in a horrible war. Well, let me remind you of something. We have soldiers on the battlefield right now, And these overpaid goons just spit on them. The national anthem is about a nation, not about a president. And if these overpaid thugs don't know that, they should be thrown off the team. They are role models, not troll models. And the commissioner of this league supports this nonsense. He should also be fired. He's saying these players have a right to their free speech and to protest if they see fit. Oh, really? It didn't seem to be that way when the Dallas Cowboys wanted to wear stickers on their helmets to honor the police in Dallas who were killed. The Dallas policeman executed by a black man. Do you remember that? But the commissioner didn't allow a sticker at the time on a helmet of the Dallas Cowboys. Or how about when an NFL player wanted to honor 9/11 victims with a simple decal on his shoe? He wasn't allowed to do that either. But now spitting on the flag, that's allowed by these idiots? You, the people, have the power, and that's what you need to remember. You don't have to go to the game. You don't have to buy the products. You don't have to watch the television set of the morons. And I'll remind you again, all these big advertisers, and I don't have to name them, that are on the NFL who pay hundreds of millions of dollars to be on that game, do not advertise on Michael Savage, Rush Limbaugh, or the other major conservative talk shows. Yet they support this anti-Americanism. Ask yourself, why don't they advertise on the Savage Nation or any conservative radio? And yet people still defend these thugs who spit on everything good about America, saying it's their right. But is it really their right? Yes, they can say what they want, but shouldn't they be accountable for what they say? Their bosses should fire them because they're staining their product with anti-Americanism. But the bosses and the advertisers won't do anything because they're too afraid of the backlash that the leftist fascists have instigated in this nation. All that we used to honor and respect must be thrown out, and all of a sudden we have to accept the haters. All of a sudden, man is woman, woman is man, America is bad. Russia is bad. The Soviet Union was actually good to them. To them, the civil rights movement never happened. Minorities are now more oppressed than ever to these morons. The world is upside down. The fact that these players can do what they did yesterday with no repercussions whatsoever disproves all of their arguments. Where else could you do this on planet Earth? Try it in a dictatorial regime like Iran. You'd be put in a torture prison. Even in westernized countries, you have laws against certain speech. I am the only member of the American media banned from Britain, and that's for something I didn't even say. But here, millionaire thugs can go on national TV and hate the nation with a gesture. It'd be the equivalent of giving the nation a finger during the national anthem. Instead of getting on a knee, why don't they just hold up their middle finger and show us who they really are? Just remember this. When they do what they did yesterday, they're not disrespecting President Trump or any president. They're disrespecting an entire nation. They're spitting on you and me. I'm Michael Savage, and I approve of my monologue, which is now up on the most important news site in the world, and the world will hear it on the Drudge Report. Michael Savage, National Felons League spitting on America. This just in, the Steelers quarterback regrets having done what he did. Ben Roethlisberger regrets Steelers boycotting the anthem. Did you hear this? I guess his jersey stopped selling overnight. Ben Roethlisberger, just this afternoon released a statement saying he regretted his Pittsburgh Steelers boycotting the national anthem on Sunday. He said, "I was unable to sleep last night. I want to share my thoughts and feelings." Well, okay. He probably recognizes that his jerseys will stop selling. Why would you buy a jersey of someone who hates the country? Let people who admire these thugs buy their jerseys. Those of you who don't admire the thugs and the goons, why do you do anything that they tell you to do? Why do you drink the beer that they support? Why do you drive the car that they advertise? Why do you wear the sneakers that they advertise? Because you're a fool. We've gone from role models to troll models in just one generation. As I say, they have the right to do it, and you have the right to do what you have to do. They're oppressed minorities, really oppressed to make $16 million a year for throwing a ball, aren't they? WABC, Vincent, how do you feel about this? Vincent on WABC, going once, going twice, gone. WABC, Robert, line 4. You're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Marines all decided to take a knee one day while I provide the blanket of freedom and protection that these jackasses live under.
Well, let me tell you something. This is coming in the military, too. This is when a cancer starts to spread like this, you're going to see dissension in the military next. That's what's going to happen next. And that is what the leftists want. That is what the radical Muslims want, who is behind all of this. Never forget when this cancer started. It started with Colin Pimpleneck, who was going out with a girl whose parents were both Egyptian. It started when a Muslim girlfriend poisoned the mind of an American boy named Colin Pimpleneck. Do you remember that or not?
Yes, sir.
All right, so it's the radical Islamic front that is behind these morons in jerseys. You can take that to the bank. I'm Michael Savage.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
We have a great country. We have great people representing our country, especially our soldiers, our first responders, and they should be treated with respect. And when you get on your knee and you don't respect the American flag or the anthem, that's not being treated with respect.
That is correct. And let me remind you something else. If General Patton had become president, he wouldn't speak any differently than Donald Trump. He's the right man for the right time, as imperfect as he may be. And these goons, these so-called role models, have become nothing but troll models. And you have the power over them, whether you know it or not. What power do they really have? If you stop attending the games, if you turn off Comcast when the game comes on, if you actually pay attention to your family or your wife, instead of sitting like a passive moron, watching a group of goons throwing a ball around, let me tell you something. They'll be standing at attention real soon. WABC Frank, line 5.
Yes, hello, Michael. Frank from New York. Listen, I think these cowards should be bussed over to Walter Reed Army Hospital and tell those veterans without limbs why they won't stand up for the flag. They're just a bunch of damn cowards.
Very good point. You know, the number one best-selling jersey is of a player from the Pittsburgh Steelers named Alejandro Villanueva. He was the only one of the Pittsburgh Steelers who stood for the national anthem on Sunday, and the people responded. His jersey became the best-selling piece in the NFL Player Monday list of things. Now, there's a reason Mr. Villanueva stood. Unlike the others, he's a former Army Ranger who served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan. He was the only Steeler to appear for the Star-Spangled Banner before the game against the Chicago Bears. He is a patriot. The others are an embarrassment. KSFO, Steve, line 1. Your opinion, please.
Yes, Dr. Savage?
Yes.
Yes, hey, I think the first thing that I would do would send Jeff Sessions to Ferguson and take a poll of the folks out there and ask them if they think that Hands Up, Don't Shoot was a lie or fiction. And then after that vote is taken, go ahead and read Eric Holder's assessment of what happened. And then...
Yeah, it was all a big lie. We know that it was a felonious thug who tried to take a gun away from a cop who was defending his own life. And the whole thing got twisted out of order because of the government that we had at the time, the divisive Barack Obama government. And, of course, these people capitalized on it, and they think they're big heroes. But let me tell you something. The ultimate hero is the consumer. The consumer has all the power. And if you don't like these troll models, just don't attend their sports or turn it off. Become a normal human being. Don't be obsessed with that garbage. Where this is going next is the problem. It's all based upon the hands up, don't shoot lie. It was a creation of the radical left. All those who would like to turn this nation into a fire pit are celebrating the actions of these morons, these uneducated, overpaid morons in plain English. I have nothing but contempt for all of them. Overpaid like you can't believe. Tell me why their salaries aren't capped at $75,000 a year. Tell me why a man should make $16 million for throwing a ball. Why is there no salary cap in the NFL? Tell me why. They'd still play because they couldn't make $75,000 a year flipping burgers, could they? Or making $125,000 a year. You telling me they wouldn't take the job? What else could they do? Tell me what else they're fit for, other than banging into each other's head with a helmet on. That's all they're fit for, and running down a field. So cap their salaries at $100,000 a year. They'll still play. Okay, you know where this is going, don't you? It's going to become the cancer that it is going to spread like a wildfire now. And, of course, the leftists are just salivating over this. You know, in Stop the Coming Civil War, I wrote a very telling line that is almost frightening for me to look at right now, when I said that the progressive left, and the progressives, of course, is a kind word for radical communists who want to turn this nation into a field of fire. I said they would use street thugs as their street army. Was I wrong? No, I wasn't wrong. I have a lot more that I'm going to say as the show goes on, and I'm sure you'd like to join the conversation. Can anyone tell me which one of these players is an oppressed minority by name? Can anyone listening to this show honestly say to me that any of those players who make millions of dollars a year for doing what they do is an oppressed minority? No, I don't think you can answer that question. But what about the National Football League? It's only a business, isn't it? NFL, National Felons League. It's only a business. So like all businesses, they're subject to consumers' fancies. My business is reflected in that way. For years, I've been denied tens of millions of dollars a year in advertising revenue because the 3 or 4 people who control the ad business in the media will not permit any of the same advertisers who advertise for these goons to advertise on this show. Not Nike, not Dodge, you name the product. They're not allowed to advertise on this show or Russia's show or anyone else's show on the conservative side. You didn't know any of this. We're subject to boycotts for well over 10 years. Did you know that? Did you know that by supporting the goons, by buying the products, you're supporting their kneeling down? Think about that. Just think about the next time you see it. And if you take away, let's say you're ready to turn the show off. You say, I had enough already. I heard it all. I want you to take home one image. The image is that can be seen on my website, michaelsavage.com, where you can find the monologue linked up on the Drudge Report. Listen to me very carefully. There's an image of a U.S. Marine at a ball game holding himself up by his arms in his wheelchair because he has no legs. He lost his legs in combat. But he forced himself up on his arms out of respect for this nation. Unlike these thugs and cowards. I don't care how big they are. I don't care how tough they sound. They're a bunch of punks, every last one of them. The real hero is that man in the wheelchair. Or it's that widow weeping on a gravesite. Go look at that picture and tell me your heart isn't moved. Weeping with her little infant next to her on the blanket with a picture of her dead husband. That's the hero!
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
What we're going to do right now at the halftime of the Savage Nation. We're going to go from when Johnny comes marching home again. We're going to let all of you out there who are fuming mad at these thugs, these overpaid goons. I'm going to play the national anthem, and we're going to have a moment of silence during the national anthem. And I want you to, I don't care where you are. You're in a car, if you can, pull over or flash your lights. See how many other people are listening, whether it be in New York or Dallas or San Francisco. You're not alone. I want you to understand that you're not alone. If you're listening to this show as I play the national anthem, I'm going to give you the option. You can stand at work. Let's say you're in a cubicle somewhere listening to the show illicitly or illegally. Not allowed to listen, but you're listening in the earbuds. Why don't you just stand up during the national anthem and put your hand on your heart and show those around you that you care about this country? Because if this country is divided, remember that there's another side to the division, and that is us. and there are more of us than there are them. Never forget that there are more of us who love this country than there are of those who hate this country. It's as simple as that. So, Robert, let's get ready. I want you to listen to the national anthem. I want you to think about the oppressors on the teams, these bullies of the NFL who are holding audiences captive, who are spitting on the America that has made them rich and famous. If you feel sick about that, then just stand at attention. If you're in a house alone, no one has to know. You don't have to make a show of it. We're going to play the national anthem right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, here it comes. And you overpaid goons can all go to hell as far as I'm concerned. WABC, George, how do you feel about this issue?
Hello?
Yeah, George, how do you feel about this issue?
Well, look, I don't watch sports much, but if this is all about, like, you know, these guys are protesting cops, killing black kids, you know, then the real conversation should be these failed politicians for the last 60 or 80 years, you know, keeping the poor, where the cops have to go in there. And if the percentage is low, like the black percentage is 13, 18%.
Wait, you know, that's a separate issue from this. These are not poor, oppressed minorities on the field. They're making $16 million or more for throwing a stupid ball around. It has nothing to do with oppressed minorities. They're just getting over on people because someone told them that they'd look cool doing it. They don't really mean. What do you think? They really care about that? Are you joking? There's no protest here. You ever see how these goons behave off the field? You're telling me they're real patriots off the field? They're real social activists off the field? Are you joking? Ron on WDRC Radio, line 4. What's your opinion?
Hi, Dr. Savage. I stand behind you 100%. You know, it's funny how these guys sit there and they come out and they say, oh, well, we're protesting all this stuff going on. But yet, when you see them doing interviews on radio and television, they don't mention one word about any of that crap.
Now they're going to be coached by all of the leftist groups in America on how to sound so intelligent on the issues. They'll all be given They'll all be given a script to read. All of a sudden, they'll become little social activists, little ambassadors for North Korea, little ambassadors for Iran, little ambassadors for Cuba. Well, there's a simple solution to this. If you don't love it, get out of the country. Go play in Cuba. Go play in the Cuban Ball League. They have a football team down there. I hear that Kim Jong-il likes football. Go play in North Korea. See how well you're treated over there. Or better yet, why don't you go play over in Iran, Colin Kaepernick? Go play in Egypt. Go play in Iran. See how well you're treated. See how much money you make. See how many dinars you make over there in those countries. You sicken all of us. This is not about a president. Never forget that when they do this, what they're doing is they're saying they hate this country. Never, ever forget that. Never forget what this is. Never forget what this country could descend into if it keeps going like this. Have you ever studied the U.S. Civil War? Have you ever heard about Antietam? Have you studied what has happened to this country over race? Have you seen what this can become unless these goons are told to stop it? Because this cancer can spread. And the enemies of our way of life want it to spread. And everyone will lose. everyone listening to this show, no matter which side you're on, you will lose. Nobody will be victorious. If this nation falls, there will be nothing left. Nothing whatsoever. It's time for these goons to understand that they are role models and they should not be used as troll models. And they must stand during the anthem. They don't like the country. There are other ways to protest. They should not do this to a captive audience of people who paid a fortune to go and see these idiots run around banging into each other's head with helmets. It's like the Roman arena to the average moron, wanting to see someone break an arm or break a neck. Oh, sure, they say they're going to see someone catch a ball, but they're really waiting to see someone fall. Like they go to fights, basically, to see someone get his head beaten in. They claim that it's sports, but it isn't. Most of it is just an extension of the Roman arena. Well, anyway, you know my feelings on the issue. I can bring up other topics that are somewhat related, and perhaps I ought to, but not right now, about what happens when a society descends into civil unrest, and how civil unrest can quickly become a civil war, and how the thin blue line is all we have between us and absolute mayhem, and how the blue lives are all we have between us and total chaos, murder, rape, robbery, arson. That's all we have. Over this weekend, there was another atrocity. There was a shooting in a church that you didn't hear anything about because Wolf Blitzer and the other girls at CNN chose not to tell you about it. A man went into a church, a small little church, with elderly parishioners all over 60, and executed them one by one. But it was swept away by the vermin in the media who have destroyed this nation. Never forget who has destroyed this nation. It's the jackals in the media. It's Phil Griffin at MSNBC who will do anything for ratings. It's Mr. Zucker at the other network, another one laughing all the way to the bank, looking only at ratings, not at the fire he has instigated in this nation. If it burns, it earns. If it bleeds, it leads. Hey, Mr. Zucker? Well, watch out because it can come around and bite you in the behind, Zucker. That's the thing to worry about. Fire has a way of spreading, Zucker. You may be laughing now, but I hope you keep laughing for the rest of your life, Zucker. But be very careful what you are doing. You have a responsibility to this nation, Phil, and you're not living up to it. By instigating this hatred, Phil and Zucker, what you're doing is playing with fire, and those who sow the wind shall reap the whirlwind, says the Bible. You want unity in the nation? Start with Wolf Blitzer. Start with the half creatures on MSNBC. Yeah, that's what you can do. You can bring this nation together. You have all the power, but it's the media who has turned us against each other. And now it's spread like a cancer into this field. The field of sports with captive audiences around the world forced to watch these goons. So what's going to happen when you go to a ball game and your children start to kneel? What's going to happen when idiots in grade schools look at these stupid goons and do the same thing during the national anthem, and some of your boys and some of your girls stand to attention, and maybe they'll be punched for standing to attention during the anthem? What are you going to do then when the principal says, well, they were just expressing their opinion. It's freedom of expression to punch your son in the nose. What are you going to do then? Tell me what you're going to do then when the schools which are run by 99% anti-Americans, when they start supporting this kind of rubbish. We're at the beginning of something, not the end of it. This is the beginning of something, not the end of it. And that is why I am so vocal today on this issue. Again, I ask you to go to the Drudge Report right now, Michael Savage, National Felons League Spinning on America, because that monologue as written and spoken should be sent around the world. And now you know why I'm the only American media figure banned in Britain. It's a badge of honor as far as I'm concerned. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. It's a badge of honor to be banned in a nation that has capitulated to the enemies of freedom. I'm going to take a quick break and come right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Look, before we get back to the topic at hand, I want to tell you about something important to you personally, which is your own body. And do you know that you can find out if your body is making enough nitric oxide simply by testing your own saliva? Look, I've been raving about Super Beets for a long while now because it's a great circulation superfood and it works. You can get more energy and more stamina in as little as 20 minutes. My friends at Super Beets send me saliva indicator strips. And using your own saliva, you can see the changes in your nitric oxide level simply by using Super Beets. That's it. I happen to love that Super Beets puts their money where their mouth is. And for a limited time with your first order, Super Beets will send you an entire month's supply of saliva indicator strips. That's a $25 value for free. And with your order, you also get a free book, plus your first can of Super Beets free. That's another $60 value for nothing, for free. Would you please try it for yourself? Call 1-800-481-0504, 1-800-481-0504. Here's what you're going to get. A month's supply of indicator strips, free to track those changes at a cellular level to see how it really works. More energy, more stamina while supporting healthy circulation. So call 1-800-481-0504 or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. 1-800-481-0504, SavageLovesBeats.com. Linda on WABC Line 3. Go ahead, please. What's your story?
My son had an American, keyword American, youth football game yesterday. 12 and under, 11-year-olds and 10-year-olds. Our boys, helmet off, hands on their hearts. The other team in central New Jersey, kneeling with their helmets on to the Whitney Houston version of our national anthem.
Well, Obama's got his way. America's now cut in half. America's divided, race against race.
Well,
was this largely against racial lines, or what was it? Let's be clear. What's going on here?
Well, I said, if you don't like America and the flag, go live somewhere else. And one of our African-American coaches said that's not what this is about. And I said, well, whatever it is.
Well, what then is it about? Ask the idiot what it is about.
You know what? It's whatever their issue is, there's no place on a youth football field. There's no place.
That is correct.
To use a child.
So here's some words to use, Linda, and everyone listening to the show. You can say very calmly to the coaches, the geniuses that they are, these football players are supposed to be role models, not troll models. Just say that to them.
I will.
Troll model. That's what they're trolling, the anti-Americanism that is now prevalent in the colleges. 855-400-7282. Frank on KSFO, San Francisco. Go ahead, Frank. Fire away.
Hello, Dr. Savage. How are you?
Make it quick. Make it quick. Make it quick.
Yes, I came to this country a long time ago. The day that I went to become a citizen, they gave me a flag. I took that flag. I put it on in my bedroom. I thank God in the morning when I get up to look at it, and I go to bed, and I thank God that I came to this country doing.
Frank, which country did you come from, Frank?
I came from Iran.
Oh, you really escaped the Hitler over there, didn't you?
Yes, yes.
You escaped the Hitlers in a headscarf over there with the holy roller liars, making believe they're such holy Muslims, while they kill, they murder, they rape, they drink alcohol, they hang around with prostitutes. Who are they fooling?
What they did to that country was thriving. And another thing that I would love...
Iran was one of the greatest advanced civilizations on the planet long before any other country was. And it all descended into hell. It all descended into hell when Jimmy Carter brought back the cancer of the Muslim world, Ayatollah Khomeini from London, who was in exile. He was thrown out of the country by the great Shah, and he brought this cancer back, and the cancer spread through Iran, and women are now living in the 14th century because of Jimmy Carter. You think I don't know history? I do. And what does that have to do with these idiots on the field? They will drag us into a state that you can never believe if this goes on. Oh, it may look innocent enough right now. It may look like a bunch of guys just getting on their knees, but no. What they're saying is this country is no good. What they're saying is this country is evil. What they're saying is this country is not as good as other countries. Well, there's an answer to that question. If they know a country that is better, they have the freedom to move to it and see how much money they can make throwing a ball around on a field in Iran. That Colin Pimpelnick, for example, who started all of this after he was hanging around with an Egyptian girlfriend. His mind was poisoned by the girl, to the best I can figure this out. And do you know what jersey Colin Pimpelnick was wearing when he started this crap? A T-shirt showing the killers of Cuba, the Castros. That's what Colin Pimpelnick was wearing. So if you don't think this has connections to socialism, radical Marxism, and the death of everything that you love, you are mistaken. You are seeing something much bigger than a group of overpaid goons spitting on the national anthem and in so doing spitting on America. You're seeing the meltdown of a society. Where it ends, nobody knows. Round and round it goes. Where it ends, nobody knows. This is the savage nation. Maybe only God knows. God, faith, and reason. Let's hope reason prevails.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
There's a lot of adolescence in men's bodies here in this country, both on the field and off the field. And that's what we're looking at now. Can you name one player who makes all these millions who's an oppressed minority? I can't kind of put that together. They're oppressed by what? They hate our society, they hate our culture, but they love the greenbacks? It's wonderful, isn't it? All this is going to do is provoke more and more hatred between the races. It's going to provoke the end of football as you know it. These bums were supposed to understand something when they were given these, when they earned these positions, and they did earn them because they're great athletes. Don't take that away from them. But they're bums as human beings, in plain English. You see, the stands and the TV sets are watched by, tens of millions of people or more? And they are role models. When I was a kid, if I went to a Yankees game, which I did, I loved it. And I loved every ball play. I looked up to them. They were demigods to me. I wanted to be like them. But when that national anthem played in the Yankee Stadium, everything came to a halt. The Frankfurter salesman stood at attention and put his hand over his heart. The beer salesman stood dead still. Every player stood there, understanding that it was because of the sanctity and safety of the nation that they could play their game. And if these bums don't know that, they ought to move to Cuba or Iran and see how respected they will be, and see if they are oppressed minorities or respected minorities in Cuba or in Iran. This is sickening. Now, I wrote a book years ago called Stop the Coming Civil War, and then I wrote subsequent books. But you know, Stop the Coming Civil War, unfortunately, was prophetic in many ways, because this is a civil war. You see, this racial enmity did not begin with Donald Trump. It began with Barack Obama. Barack Obama sowed racial enmity in this nation for 8 straight years. That's how he became president. Did he, correct me if I'm mistaken, but before he was president, did he cure polio, or was he the man who discovered the cure for leukemia? Or was Obama an astronaut who went to Mars? Or was Obama a man who won a Nobel Prize for something? He was a nobody, a zero, an invention, a creation of the radical left that cultivated him for years and years and years in Hawaii and then in Colombia. They picked him, they handpicked him. He was the perfect man for the time to push the anti-American agenda. And he spent 8 straight years doing what got him where he was, which was dividing people, turning first against the police in Boston, if you remember. You remember that? Obama sowed the seeds of racial enmity in this country for 8 straight years with his henchman, Eric Holder. One after the other, they turned race against race, sex against sex, old against young. All right, let's hear what the people out there have had to say about my headline on my website, michaelsavage.com. When I wrote over the weekend, actually it was yesterday, National Felons League, NFL, overpaid and great spit on U.S. We got all sorts of replies on the Twitter feed. One of the most profound is the picture of a U.S. Marine holding himself up during a national anthem by his arms, holding on to the arms of his wheelchair because he has no legs. Unlike these overpaid thugs, he lost his legs in Iraq, and he came to a game, and while the national anthem was being played, this man brought tears to the eyes of the world as he held himself up with his hands, not his legs, because he understands the anthem is about the nation. These anti-American thugs are the lowest form of humanity as far as I am concerned. They're not heroes. They're spoiled ingrates. That's all they are. It's as simple as that. There's another picture I want you to try to find. It's on michaelsavage.com as well as on my Twitter feed that someone put together. It'll break your heart. It'll rip your heart out. It's of a woman lying in a military cemetery on a blanket with a picture of her deceased husband, a soldier, with all his medals, and her baby. And this is who it is. This is what it's all about. Her heart is broken. She's there with the baby who has no father. And these filthy, overpaid, stupid bums spit on my flag. They can all go to hell as far as I'm concerned. It's as simple as that. And America should spit on them as far as I am concerned. It's as simple as that. There's nothing more I can say. These filthy bums had the nerve, one of the teams of this filthy, stinking league, to go to England and spit on the American people by taking a knee while the anthem was being played, while saluting and standing up at attention for the British national anthem. I think they ought to move to Britain and see what kind of money they can earn over there. Or they ought to move to Iran, another country they love. Or they ought to move to Cuba, where sports are very popular, and see what kind of money they can make over there. You know, there's some good news in all of this, which is that there's a player named Alejandro Villanueva of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's an offensive lineman. He broke with his team to stand for the national anthem yesterday, and it became the best-selling NFL player Monday, according to a report. He's a former Army Ranger who served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan. He was the only Pittsburgh Steeler to appear for the Star-Spangled Banner before the game against the Chicago Bears. His patriotic counter-protest while his filthy teammates remained in the locker room helped him unseat New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady as the top gear seller in the league, according to ESPN. Did you hear what I just said? A spokesman for Fanatics, which runs the NFL's online store, confirmed that more Villanova items, including jerseys and T-shirts, had been ordered than that of any other NFL player in the past 24 hours. But his coach doesn't support him. His rotten, stinking anti-American coach, Mike Tomlin, had the nerve to say, "I was looking for 100% participation. We were going to be respectful of our football team." Go to hell, Mike Tomlin. Go move to Iran or Cuba where you belong. When San Francisco 49ers failed quarterback Colin Pimpleneck first started kneeling before games, this hero, Villanueva, said he questioned whether kneeling during the national anthem was appropriate. This hero, Alejandro Villanueva, said, "I don't know if the most effective way is to sit down during the national anthem with a country that's providing you with freedom, providing you $16 million a year, when there are black minorities that are dying in Iraq and Afghanistan for less than $20,000 a year. The national anthem is about a nation, not about a president. So when President Trump says players who protested the national anthem being played before games should be fired from their teams over the weekend, well, the whole world exploded. Yesterday, America was treated to NFL players taking a knee or sitting or locking arms while the national anthem was being played in protest of what the president said. Well, guess what? They weren't protesting a president. They were giving a big middle finger to the entire nation. That flag and that song should be a unifying moment, a moment to say, no matter what differences we have, we are all American, and it's a privilege to be one. But a bad player, influenced by his radical Muslim girlfriend here in San Francisco, just last year decided to make it about himself. He claimed to be protesting the killing of black men in America by the police, while at the same time this vile loser wearing a shirt praising the Castro murderers of Cuba. And it's now spread to this. They're saying he's practicing his First Amendment rights. Well, let me tell you something. Donald Trump also practiced his First Amendment rights, and an entire league lost their minds. This tradition of the national anthem at ball games goes back over 100 years to World War I. The people then loved their nation, with boys fighting overseas in a horrible war. Well, let me tell you something, you overpaid goons. We have soldiers on the battlefield today, and these players, you, just spit on them. The national anthem is about a nation, you goons, not about a president. And if you goons don't know that, you should be thrown off the team. Go play in Cuba. Go play in Pakistan. You know, Trump is the General Patton of our time. If General Patton were alive today, he'd be very much like Donald Trump. He was a tall white man, number one. Let's start with looks. Did you know that about Patton? He came from a wealthy family in Manhattan. Check that one. He was very, very outspoken. He spoke with so-called salty language. He did not take crap from soldiers in the field who wanted to duck combat, if you remember that story about General Patton. And, of course, we're living in a time where everyone has to pretend that they're something that they aren't. Like all the guys in Hollywood, they all make believe that they're all so liberal. They're liberal, sure. Well, anyway, that's the story. But Trump is very much like General Patton, and that's why he's doubly hated by the vermin on the left. You see, we had 8 straight years of being pulled almost into the world of overt, if not outright, socialism, but that's too soft a word. It was very close to a muted form of communism and a dictatorship that Obama dragged us into. And if you think I'm using hyperbole, you're mistaken. I normally do use a lot of hyperbole. But even the ACLU was disgusted with Barry Obama, who they said, and they hushed this up pretty quickly in the media, Obama created the greatest surveillance state in the history of the world, far outdoing that of communist Russia, spying on every American. And that was done by the nice old Barry Obama, Mr. Good Guy, the man who was so slick at lying that he told you he didn't like millionaires and billionaires when those are the only people he hung around with. And the minute he got out of office, he took a $70 million deal for a book, and then flew around with that character from England with Virgin Airways. I guess he was another millionaire and billionaire who was not on the list of hated. Him and the old lady hung out with him. It's all a lie, don't you understand that? And what you actually don't understand is that Trump is probably your best friend because he's the most American president we've had in so long. Imperfect, yes. Not giving us what we want on the right, for sure. Maybe 20, 25% of what we want, but who expected more? But the big issue today is him standing up to these thugs instead of cowering to them. What other president would have stood up to these thugs, these so-called sacred cows with helmets, other than Donald Trump? Who else could have done that? Nobody.
I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. From role models to troll models in one generation. That's what we're talking about. If General Patton were a president, he'd sound just like Donald Trump. I invite all of you who are listening who have something on your heart about this issue that America is talking about. And by calling 855-407-282, if you get on the show, you'll meet an awful lot of people, will hear you rather. More people than you'll meet for the rest of your life. It's quite a powerful show. And talk radio is still the greatest link to communication, for direct communication in this country. All right, let's take some calls. Frank on WABC line 7. Go ahead, please, from New York City.
Yeah, Mike, I'm in sports management. I'd rather not say who I work for and what I do. All that has to be done is the fans have to ban one game, and that's all it would take. But I don't think anything would ever change because you got to remember there's big money with football. There's gambling, legal gambling, sports book, and the fans are just crazy. No matter what the players do, there's always a dedicated fan base. And we do demographics.
Well, that's what, look, Karl Marx said that that religion is the opiate of the masses. I said years ago that sports are the opiate of the asses, and I haven't changed my opinion yet. So, no, I don't expect much reaction from the idiots who sit in the stands or go and root for this stuff. They should understand, though, that they're just funding, they're fueling their own demise by attending. They have the power to not watch it on TV. That's the most direct way to do it, isn't it? Forget about going to the game. What if they just didn't watch direct TV during an NFL game and the ratings plummeted by 40%? What would happen then?
That's true. That's a big hit.
And they don't have to go. Just say, look, I'm not watching it. Here's my protest. I'm going to take a knee also. Hey, I'm taking a knee to you goons. Here you go. I'm going to watch something else. I'm going to go out of the house for 3 hours. I'm going to become a human being for 3 hours and hang out with my children. Yeah. Turn off direct TV the next time there's an NFL game. That's all. It's simple. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate the call. WTMA in South Carolina. Alan, line 6. Go ahead, please.
Dr. Savage, thanks for taking my call. I'm sure this Pittsburgh squealer, Roethlisberger, is not only worried about losing sleep, I'm sure he's worried about losing business down here. He owns 4 restaurants, and I'm going to do my best to make sure nobody ever eats there again.
Oh, he does he? That's why he lost sleep over it, huh? The jersey stopped selling overnight?
I have no idea. I don't give a damn.
Well, but he's the one who said, well, I don't think you should punish. But, Alan, I don't think you should punish him. He's the only one who stood for the anthem.
No, Roethlisberger.
Yeah, he stood. He didn't take a knee. He did not take a knee, correct?
I thought he stayed in the locker room.
Oh, he stayed in the locker room. Oh, I see. Ben Roethlisberger regrets Steelers boycotting anthem. Yeah, maybe he woke up to the fact that it cut into his into the bottom line. That's the only thing anyone understands, Alan. That's the absolute truth. Thank you for the call. I appreciate all of you listening to the show because frankly, by listening to the show and supporting my advertisers, you're basically putting your money where your mouth is. It's that simple. So where will this lead is the question. Well, the backlash is already happening. Make no mistake about it. The people have been heard. KVOR, Colorado. Karen, 30 seconds or less. Go ahead. What's happening already, Karen?
Yes, Dr. Savage. As you said, there is a backlash brewing for this disrespectful behavior of all these professional athletes who are refusing to stand up and honor our country and stand up for the ended their endorsement contract with Denver Bronco Von Miller for his outrageous behavior. And I didn't even watch the Bronco game yesterday before any of this happened. We are a big military.
Why don't you tell that auto dealer that I'd be very happy to be to have him sponsor on my show. Be very happy to have him on the show up there on KVOR. Thank you for the call. That's right. There's another place to take your advertising money.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Well, this is the Savage Nation. This is a big, big story because it's going to spread. And all the haters on the left are celebrating right now that they have the thugs on the field continuing the legacy of Barack Obama by dividing people up. not to be outdone, is the idiot of the day, which is Nancy Pelosi, once again, the biggest idiot of all. Again, attacking Donald Trump on the issue of race when this is not about race. This is about patriotism, Nancy. And you should be ashamed of yourself doubly today, Nancy, because I can guarantee you the D'Alessandro family in Baltimore is not supporting your statement in favor of the thugs taking a knee. I can guarantee you. I want you to listen to what Nancy Pelosi, the fool, she doesn't know how to shut her mouth and stay out of things that do not help her at all. Okay? Listen to clip 7 to the idiot in 07.
Well, you gave a list of the examples of how the president has been, shall we say, exploitive of certain divisions in our country when it comes to race. I would hope that he would transition from that.
Just shut up. Shut up. Barack Obama is the one who divided this country up, not Donald Trump. He inherited the nightmare that Obama created, you idiot, you. Now, there's another one that you got to hear. I think it's time to play this, Robert. Do we have the soundbite of the Hollywood Idiot of the Day where you play the big build-up with the roar? You got to get that ready. It's an old feature of the Savage Nation, which is whenever it's ready, you'll hear it. And then I'm gonna have to tell you what this is. There's a Hollywood idiot named Jesse Williams, who I've never heard, who said that the pregame national anthem is a scam to make Americans go overseas and kill. This is an example of the stupidity that you find on sports fields. Do we have the Hollywood Idiot sounder, Robert?
And now, the Savage Nation Hollywood Idiot of the Day.
This anthem is a scam. This is not actually part of football. This was invented in 2009 as from the government paying the NFL to market military recruitment, to get more people to go off and fight wars to die. This has nothing to do with NFL or American pastime or tradition. This is to get boys and girls to go fly overseas and go kill people.
Well, it just shows you how stupid this moron is. Another one who's overpaid, another moron of the highest order. He said it started in 2009. Hey, Jesse, if you're in my class, I'd give you a 0 and send you back 2 grades. No, the national anthem didn't start in 2009, moron. The national anthem actually was begun during sports games during World War I, moron. This is what passes now for a talking head. And, of course, Phil Griffin of MSNBC gives the moron a podium. That's what they specialize in, uneducated dolts who hate the country. That's the entire channel, uneducated morons who hate America. Imagine a channel built around that. Now, before we go past all the news of the day, let's not go over this. There was a slaughter over the weekend in a Nashville, Tennessee area church. A gunman whose identity was hushed up for a while opened fire in a Nashville church. And an usher went up to him to try to stop him. The shooter was a Sudanese refugee. Mr. Sampson, Emmanuel Kandinga Sampson, 25 years old, goes in with a gun and a mask, goes in the back of the church and starts killing old men and old women. An usher jumps up, a little 21-year-old kid, to try and stop this animal, and the animal pistol whips the church user, who wrestles with him, and he stabs the guy in the neck, no less. The man gets stabbed in the neck by the wonderful refugee from the Sudan. So the guy runs out of the church. The usher gets a gun of his own. He's got a conceal and carry. And he comes back and holds the thug, killer, murderer immigrant from Sudan who killed these people at bay until the police arrest the thug who killed all of these innocent people. I guess that's not in the news today because it doesn't meet the agenda. It doesn't meet the agenda not by, let us say, visual or auditory levels. Poor woman, 39-year-old, Melanie Smith of Smyrna, Tennessee, walking to her car after church, shot dead. Many, many others were killed. But the 22-year-old usher, Robert Engel, was pistol whipped as he tried to stop the animal. But he ran out of the place, out of the church, after the struggle, according to Metro Nashville Police spokesman Dan Aron. And during the struggle, the gunman from the Sudan shot himself by accident during the struggle in the pectoral muscle. During that break in the wrestling match, the usher ran to get his own gun and held the wounded animal for the cops, according to News Channel 5. He's a legal licensed gun owner. All but one of the people killed are over the age of 60. The animal will be charged with murder and attempted murder, according to police, in a church, no less. That did not make it to the San Francisco newspapers, for obvious reasons. WGOW in Tennessee, Mike, line 4. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just wanted you to look at Tomlin's last statement. Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, he just wanted the players to come out and play football. He didn't want to make no political statement, either for or against. I'm a retired Marine. I'm all for the USA. And I respect Villanova for what he done. Good guy. And I say hoorah and Semper Fi.
Well, thank you for your comment. Well, it's going to get worse instead of better, as you well know. And all of the haters of America are now celebrating that the goons on the field who smash heads against each other in helmets are now carrying the ball for Karl Marx. KSFO, John, line 3. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Michael. It's very interesting to note that both the Golden State Warriors, who are in Oakland, and the Oakland Raiders in Oakland have had coaches and players talking about this now for seems like months, and more importantly, the last few days, and criticizing people that don't believe what the NFL players did was correct. Well, the Warriors and the Raiders are bolting from Oakland. One's going to Las Vegas, the Raiders. The Warriors are going to San Francisco in 3 years. They're going to leave one of the most violent, economically, and socially challenged cities in America, telling everybody else to, quote-unquote, do the right thing when they're leaving those markets for all the reasons that they're complaining about. And they're not...
Why is the Oakland team leaving Oakland? Why are they leaving?
That's the question, isn't it? They're the ones that are complaining about we're not handling all these social justice problems in the world, yet they're running away from both franchises in the next 3 years. One will be in San Francisco, the Warriors, on the ocean front there, with a brand new stadium. They're leaving the challenges of Oakland, as are the Raiders, to go to Las Vegas. They're bolting. At the same time, they're preaching to all of us that we're not socially justice warriors. It's a bunch, and that's really the big picture. The hypocrisy is beyond the words, and people aren't talking about that. That is major hypocrisy.
Well, I hear you, but let me ask you, John, are you a sports fan yourself?
My whole life. Yep.
Oh, you are. Well, are you going to change your attendance or viewing habits?
Already have. Already started when Kaepernick accidentally sat on the bench and then blew out this whole story about, social justice when the guy grew up in Turlock, California in an upper middle class home. Just BS.
Are you aware when this change in Pimple Neck occurred? Do you know it was as a result of his Egyptian girlfriend?
I've heard your comments. It's probably a lot of that. I mean, when you saw him talk to the press after football games, he was just an annoying. You were bothering him. He wasn't very articulate, and he was just annoying to watch. And so you can kind of see how someone could manipulate him if that's the case. Well,
she herself is not Egyptian. She was born in America, I believe, but her parents are both from Egypt. So we have to assume she grew up in a home that had a distemper for the United States of America. And as you well know, things happen with pillow talk that will not happen elsewhere. And she got to this guy, and she turned him into an anti-American hater, which is unbelievable since Pimple Neck grew up, as you say, in a very, very privileged environment. Correct. He never suffered any oppression as a minority. Not for 1 second did he.
No, he didn't. And the people that are screaming from the Raiders and the Warriors organization, they're not standing there screaming about, hey, we need to stop this and stay in Oakland and pour more money into this city and fix the problems. No, they're just running away.
Okay, well, this is going to get worse before it gets better. This is a cancer now that's spreading. And I, Dr. Savage, I'm first diagnosing the problem, and then maybe tomorrow I'll have the cure. I think we've started to talk about the cure. But just as the acid attacks are not reported in London, you know about them, don't you? Haven't heard about them? Over 250 known acid attacks by gangs of Muslim youth spraying acid in the faces of people in London, covered up by the vermin in the media who don't want you to know that there is a civil war going on in their own society as a result of the insanity of open borders. Well, this mysterious illness of progressivism, as you well know, has metastasized in America, and it is now showing its ugly head on the sports fields. And where it ends, anybody knows. My guess is that the owners of the NFL will suddenly come to understand that there's an awful lot of money involved. And if the people who they take for granted suddenly turn the games off or suddenly don't go to the stadiums, they certainly stop buying the jerseys already. A car dealer pulls an ad, a group of ads over in Colorado, as you heard, that they use for some Broncos guy. Broncos linebacker Von Miller may be out an endorsement deal as a result of kneeling during the national anthem. And as a result of that, a car dealer group over there in Colorado stopped their ads. As a result of the goons' actions before the game, Phil Long dealership asked CBS 4 and other TV stations to stop airing their ads featuring Von Miller. The general manager of Phil Long Ford in Denver told CBS 4's Rick Salinger that Miller has not been fired, but instead they're changing some advertising. Well, Phil Long dealerships, you're welcome to advertise on my radio station in Colorado. Spread some money around. Why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Many, many people do. This is the Savage Nation. Phone number is 855-400-7282. This is going to get worse before it gets better, as you well know. Let's have a little more sound on the issue of the day, which is not going to go away too fast. Here is a guy from the New York Times who in my day would have been sent back three grades. Someone by the name, and I'm not making it up, Charles Blow. He says that Trump's NFL comments proves he's a white nationalist. Listen to this hater in 11.
Once you sign on to work as part of that team, then you're also signing on to be under the leadership of that team. And Donald Trump is the leadership of that team. And there is no doubt in my mind that he is pursuing a path that leads him under the tutelage or at least being a booster and promoter of people who are white supremacists, white nationalists, anti-Semites, and so forth.
Wow, that's a long paragraph, Mr. Blow. I wonder if you use the substance that you're named for, because it makes no sense whatsoever, Mr. Blow. Remember Barry Obama? He was the guy in the White House for 8 straight years. Do you remember what he boosted and promoted for 8 straight years? Remember how he attacked cops day and night? How he said America's a racist nation day and night? Now, Barry Obama was another example of a spoiled kid who never suffered a day in his life, never, as I know, worked a real job one day in his life as I did. He was not the son of immigrants, Barack Obama. He was taken care of real well by his white grandparents, and yet he grew up and realized that if he used a certain technique well known to many, he could get very far. And he hooked up with some real powerful people in Honolulu who cultivated him, coached him, groomed him, and he became a very, very, let us say, unspectacular senator from Illinois who did virtually nothing while he was in the Senate. And from there he was launched into the White House by supremacists of another kind. They were not white supremacists, those who pushed Barack Obama so far. They were a different type of supremacist. But we won't mention what that type is. Well, they're all piling on Trump right now. None of these brave men and women had anything to say when Barack Obama was dividing and conquering. And how many attacks were there in this country while Obama was president? How many attacks by radical Muslims were there? Were there 8 or 10? I can't remember. There were quite a few. Remember? Oh, there was the Boston Marathon bombing. I seem to remember that. Oh, yeah, there was the one down in Southern California. Remember that little one where 2 Muslims came to a workplace and opened fire with automatic weapons? Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't there a slaughter of gay people at a nightclub in Orlando under Obama? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Do you remember what the divider-in-chief said about all of them? Nothing. He had nothing to say about the hatred that he had sowed in this nation or about the fact that these were a direct result of his open border policies. But I haven't. I haven't, and I won't. And I'll be right back on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. the opening of the show in one or two sentences that I want you to all hear so you can make up your own minds as to whether you think that this is, let us say, fair practice of these goons to do this thing to the American people. The commissioner of this football league supports their right to express themselves. Well, he ought to be thrown out as well. He's saying that these goons have a right to their free speech and to protest any way they see fit. Really, all you good liberals who are repeating that double talk and that big lie, how about when the Dallas Cowboys wanted to wear stickers on their helmets to honor the police after several Dallas policemen were executed by a black man? The commissioner didn't allow that. Or how about when an NFL player wanted to honor 9/11 victims with a decal on his shoe? This commissioner didn't allow that either. But he allows the goons to spit on the nation? No, my friends, this is not freedom of speech. This is something else. And never, ever forget what I just said to you. And if you don't want to forget what I just said to you today during the show, the National Felons League is spitting on America, not the fans. You can get the entire script and the entire monologue by linking to it on thedrudgereport.com. And then you can send it around to all of your friends and see what they think about it. It should go viral, and it will. It's now on the biggest news site in the world. Oh, you won't see it in San Francisco. But guess what? I'm bigger than they are. This show is bigger than the San Francisco newspaper. And never forget what I just said to you. They're all liars. Never forget the Dallas Cowboys couldn't wear stickers on their helmets to honor the police killed by a black male. And when an NFL player wanted to honor 9/11 victims with a decal, that wasn't allowed either. They're all liars. They're all supremacists of their own kind.
Savage.